Hello again. Before I begin this week's yoga sequence, I'm going to meditate for a few minutes, then do some light stretches that I went over in our initial yoga video. So if you'd like to pause the video here and go watch that video before following along with this week's yoga sequence, you can go ahead and do that. I just want to remind everyone following along that we all have a pace that works for us individually. So you might need to go a little bit slower than I am, which is okay. Just remember to listen to your body and try to match your breathing to your movements. From table pose, I'm going to tuck my toes and push my palms into the mat, coming up into downward facing dog. I'm going to breathe and alternate between bending my knees. I am then going to inhale, bring my right leg up and back, exhaling as I bring my knee down towards my chin, and I'm going to repeat this 2 more times before I drop my foot to the mat by my hands, then bringing my left foot to the front of the mat, slowly unfolding upwards so that I am in Tadasana, mountain pose, with my feet hip length apart and my arms at my side. Inhaling, I'm going to bring my arms up over my head, bending at my knees, lowering my hips as if I'm sitting in a chair. Exhaling, this is Utkatasana, chair pose. Be sure to hold your gaze towards your hands. From there, I'm going to inhale, return to mountain pose, exhaling slowly as I fall forward into a forward bend. Try to take a few breaths here, reaching more towards your mat to deepen the stretch. I'm going to then inhale, slide my palms up onto my shins, making sure my back is straight and my gaze is forward. Exhaling before I take a breath and bring my palms to the mat, stepping back into a straight line, exhaling in plank pose. Holding that pose for a few moments before I lower my hips to the mat with my arms extended and my gaze up in upward facing dog. Inhaling, I'm going to tuck my toes, lifting my hips up off the mat so that on my exhale, I am in downward facing dog. From here, I'm going to lift my left leg up and back, inhaling and then exhaling as I bring my knee towards my chin, repeating this 2 more times before I drop my left foot to the mat by my hands. And from here, I'm just going to repeat what I just have done on my right side, but with my left side. I'm going to repeat this, beginning with my right side, 2 more times. So in total, I will have done this 3 times to each side. Returning into downward facing dog again, I'm going to inhale, bring my right leg up and back, exhaling as I bring my knee to my chin, dropping my foot by my hands, making sure my knee is bent at 90 degrees, and adjusting my back foot so it is at 15 degrees, squaring my hips, raising my arms up over my head, coming into Virabhadrasana, Warrior 1. I'm going to hold this pose for a few moments before I'm going to inhale and fold over my right knee, keeping both my legs in the same position, inhaling and exhaling here. From there, I'm going to lower my hands to the mat, and I'm going to inhale and bring my right leg backwards, exhaling into plank pose. Once again, I'm going to hold this pose for a few moments before I inhale and lower my hips to the mat, still keeping my arms extended, exhaling into upward facing dog. From there, I'm going to inhale, tuck my toes, and push up into downward facing dog. From here, I'm going to repeat what I have just done to my right side, but switching and repeating with my left side. Returning back into downward facing dog, I'm going to bring my knees to the mat, making sure to separate them shoulder width apart, and I'm going to bring my hands behind my lower back and bring my shoulders backwards, lifting my chest up and my head back. This is Ustrasana, camel pose. For a more advanced version of this pose, you can place your hands on the heels of your feet. I'm going to hold this pose for a few moments, making sure to take a few breaths here before I slowly come forward out of this pose. Lower my upper body to the mat, going into upward facing dog. I'm going to take a few breaths here before inhaling and going into child's pose. I'm going to exhale and go back in between these two poses a few times, connecting my breath to my movements. I'm going to hold child's pose for a few moments, relaxing in this pose before I go into corpse pose to conclude my sequence for this week. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed this week's yoga sequence. Keep a lookout for our next yoga video to continue your at-home yoga practice. See you then.